and welcome to another special edition of Strange Planet as we share more Asea stories and my personal journey with the wonderful blue bottle, this remarkable redox signaling molecule supplement. And just to let you know what's happening with me, it's been over 2 months now, and the first thing that I noticed and I'm taking now 8 ounces in the morning, 8 ounces at night, religiously every day without fail. The first thing I noticed was an increase in my REM sleep. I guess we always dream, but I never noticed it before. It had been years and years since I'd had such vivid dreams, and those stay with me. That indicates to me if I'm getting lots of REM, I'm getting good restorative sleep. The most recent thing that I can tell you about is my gums. They are in the pink. I tend to brush a little too rigorously, and sometimes my gums will bleed. They get a little sensitive. That's all stopped. They've never been firmer or pinker, no bleeding, no sensitivity. So I want to introduce or reintroduce you to someone who actually was the very first guest that I had when we've been talking about Asea. And it's a great pleasure to welcome back Danielle Matthews. Danielle, how are you?
I'm fantastic. It's so good to be back, and I'm glad to get the update because you were just beginning last time that I was here.
Yes, that's right. Yes, just a couple of weeks on the blue bottle, and here we are 2 months later. For those that missed the episode when you were on the first time, just share your remarkable story.
Absolutely. This technology changed my world. I had been in a really severe car accident, was hit by a drunk driver about 10 years ago. And my brain had a really hard time after that. I couldn't focus. I was very sensitive to noise, to light. My processing speed was really slow. And I had pounding in my head that was just relentless. I couldn't work. I ended up, losing my job. And I had moved back in with my parents, just trying to get myself healthy. And we were told after a year that I would do no further healing, that with my brain injury, my body had done the healing it would do. And this was just kind of a new normal I needed to adjust to. And Richard, thankfully, my mom, she has always been an advocate for looking for things outside of Western medicine. Not that she was opposed to Western medicine. My grandfather, her dad, was actually a doctor, but she always felt, look, and he was the first to say, they're limited sometimes. He said, I know how to cut and I know how to prescribe a pill. I don't know nutrition. I don't know anything else. That wasn't taught that. And so my mom always dabbled in that area, and she was always looking. And it was about a year and a half after my accident, we got a phone call about Asea, and it was through an acupuncturist. She told my mom that basically all of her clients that she was using it with were having results, and she was fascinated because they were all different. She said some it was helping with digestive issues, some it was helping with hormone balance, some it was helping with their skin. And she really felt it would pass the blood-brain barrier and could help me. My mom brought it home, just intuitively trusted it, and unfortunately ran into me. I was like a brick wall for a little while because I just thought it sounded too good to be true, quite frankly. And my degree's in biology, and as a biologist, I'm like, look, I never studied redox signaling in school. Like, this wasn't a thing they talked about. I would know at least something about it. And so I really kind of wrote it off. But my mom used it and had results. She couldn't even make
Arthritis.
a fist.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was so stiff, and I watched the range of motion come back, and honestly, I thought it was a placebo. I was like, well, she just imagined it away. But then my dad had results with a knee injury that he had been plaguing him for 30 years, and I thought, maybe there's something to this. And then they brought some research back, because at the beginning the company was really doing a lot of research with athletes, showing how this increases endurance, how you start to spare your muscle glycogen because you're burning fatty acids. And so lactic acid doesn't build up as quickly. And my dad was reporting that in his workouts. He's like, I'm not getting sore, I'm repairing faster. And so they ultimately said to me, Danielle, look, this stuff has no toxicity. You cannot be allergic to it. It won't contraindicate with anything. Because at the time I had finally kind of given up, and I was taking a prescription for the migraines because they were so bad. And they said, look, just give it 6 months. Like, let's see what it can bring you. It can't hurt you, and it might help. And so that's kind of how I came into all of this. And I did not have immediate results. I didn't really notice anything. My 2-month check-in, I would have told you nothing's happening. You had a nice update 2 months in, but I didn't notice. It wasn't until the 3rd month that the pounding that had been relentless in my head stopped. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, kind of waiting for it to come back, and it wasn't coming back. And I started to have my mental clarity where I could get the words out I wanted to. It was like everything became very crisp again. I wasn't thinking through mud anymore, and my energy restored. I wasn't having to nap. I just, I had the energy to go about the day. And I was still sensitive to noise and light. Those things actually took a couple of years to go away, but I had progress I was told I'd never have. And now we can fast forward 8 years. I have been using this, and I look, feel, act like I did prior to my injury. And I fully believe that it was the redox molecules that just allowed my body to figure out where the damage was. So my body could do the healing. These molecules they allow the communication to be kind of turned back on. And it was like there was a dimmer switch on in my body, those dimmer switches in the room. And it's like all of a sudden taking the redox, it pushed the dimmer switch back up, and boom, the lights came back on, and my body could do what it needed to do. So I have so much gratitude for this company, this technology, and what it's done for me personally.
Yeah, you got your life back. You got your life back. Can we talk a little bit about how it's made? Because people, again, they'll say, well, I look on the label, it's salt water. What's so big about that? It's salt water, but it's not just salt water. Explain.
You have to look at the body and go, what are we made of? We're made of cells, which are made of atoms, right? And the salt is sodium and chloride, and water is hydrogen and oxygen. And your body is basically a sack of saline. So if we just talk about our body for a minute, your body is taking those building blocks, those 4 building blocks I just mentioned, and recombining them all the time to make different molecules. Think H2O2, that's hydrogen peroxide. It's just like water, H2O, but you put another oxygen in there, we get a very different molecule. And you can make different combinations, superoxide, chlorine dioxide, hypochlorite. Like there's a ton of things you can make, and each of those molecules plays a different role in the body. They activate different genes. They turn on these regulatory genes. Like one of the reasons that you're feeling like a deeper sleep is because EGR1 gets signaled by these molecules, and that impacts our circadian rhythm. It literally helps you get into a deep and normal sleep cycle. And so there's science behind all these experiences, which I love. So the body is making these molecules all the time. And the word redox comes from the words reductants and oxidants. Reductants are negatively charged. They end up with a net negative, and oxidants end up net positive. And these molecules, the conjunction there is redox, right? Reductants, oxidants. Right. So that's where redox signaling comes from. And it's a huge field of science. They only just had the equipment sophisticated enough to see these molecules like in the late 90s. And so it's a newer field. But the company, so just get to the ingredients in the label, the company sources it from the same thing. They grab sodium and chloride from salt, and they grab hydrogen and oxygen from water. It's the same basic building blocks, and then it's a process. I've been out to the plant several times, and they try to get as pristine water as they can. Like they pull all the dissolved solids, all the minerals out of the water. They want H2O. And same with the salt. It's like, I think it's Morton's medical grade salt. And it's like a 3.5-day process where they pull apart these molecules and they reconfigure and they make these reductants and oxidants. And so that's what we have in Asea. And it's interesting because on the bottle now, there's actually 2 labels. I don't even know if you've noticed them, or many people do. They're at the bottom, and it's BQC and GLU. These are actually laboratories over in Europe, and they actually certify, they test our product, and they certify for the presence of these reductants and oxidants. So you don't have to take Asea's word for it. You don't have to take my word for it, your word for it. Like, that there's redox molecules in here because of that stamp of approval. And these labs were actually so intrigued by Asea and that we had this, they're doing studies with these redox signaling molecules. As far as I know, there's like 9 different studies going on right now around the world with Asea's product.
Right. And what's so special about what the folks at Asea have done is these redox molecules, they are produced inside the body. As you get older, you produce less of them, or they become maybe weaker. They're issuing these 911 calls to your white blood cells. I need healing here. I need healing here. I need healing here. As we get older, they're not communicating. They're not calling 911. They figured out a way to be able to stabilize these redox molecules outside of your body, because normally as soon as you pull them apart, put them in a bottle, they're very, I guess, volatile. They would just bond back into their NaCl and H2O. They figured out a way to stabilize them right? Do I have that right?
Richard, you're nailing it. These molecules are like, think of like a spark. Like you light a sparkler and you've got those sparks that fly off. Reductants and oxidants are like those sparks. They're very fleeting. They exchange energy quickly. They grab an electron, they give an electron, and then their job is done in the body. And they go back and they revert into saline. And the body cycles through again, and makes the different molecules. It's genius how our body works. But to get these sparks stable was thought to be impossible. Like scientists have been trying to do this for decades. And Asea figured it out. Their patents, the amount of intellectual property and patents on this technology is incredible. And as it stands right now today, as we're recording, there's nobody else doing this. No one else has figured out another way to stabilize these molecules. Like scientists can in the lab for a short term, like 10 minutes. And then they revert into saline, because you can't, if you have a positive and a negative close to each other, eventually they attract. We see it with magnets all the time. There's just this force and then it's inevitable. They figured out how to do it where they've kept this stable, and the shelf life, I believe now, is like 18 months, which I had somebody say to me one time, Danielle, it's as if they put hot water and cold water in the same bottle and it didn't turn lukewarm. It is hot and cold when it arrives at your house. As soon as it touches something organic, though, like it goes to work. And that's why we tell people, look, you can't drink straight out of the bottle because your saliva will cause the molecules to start going. You put it in a cup, and it can't be like metal. It's got to be plastic, glass, and put it in the cup, swish it in your mouth. It gets absorbed sublingually. And when you do that, it gets to work immediately in your system.
That's why I swish it around in my mouth for about a minute. And maybe that's why I'm sure that's my gums are just like $1 million, my gums right now. So what else are you hearing from people? It doesn't seem to matter whether the ailment is in their head or in their bones or in their gut. It just goes to work. What else are you hearing from people? Give me some testimonials.
Well, it's pretty exciting, the different things that I've seen, because it touches a vast array. There are people, just what's coming to me right now, there are people that do live blood cell microscopy, and they can look at the blood under the microscope, and they can see how quickly the blood is flowing, the red blood cells. They can see if they're lumped and like clumped together, if they're like oxygenated and moving around. And there's a woman, and she shares her testimonial. We can get anybody that wants to hear it. You can listen directly to her. But she talked about how she had never seen the shift that she was seeing in the blood work just like a week on Asea. And even just 20 minutes, like after taking a shot of Asea, looking at people's blood again, she said the shift was that quick. And what she saw was that the red blood cells would get round, like where if they were clumped before, they would become round and more luminous and moving around, which means they're oxygenated and they're happier, right? It's like life is back in them. And she said that with the protocols that she usually does, typically it takes her months to see those types of results. That with this, she's seen very quickly. And typically she's doing it through diet change, lifestyle change, those kind of things, where this is getting into the system and the system's doing it itself like that quickly. So when people say they're not feeling it, I always think of that blood cells, because like we don't feel the difference in our red blood cells. It's not something we notice on the system level. But you can go and have it looked at and see for yourself. I have people that use this with animals, and it's always exciting because, animals don't have a placebo. And while this is a human supplement, but it's safe for an animal to take. Anything living, you can put it on plants You want to do a little at-home experiment, get flowers, put one in a vase of water and one in a vase of Asea Redox, and you're going to see which one lives younger longer, lives more vibrantly longer, because the one in the Asea is going to repair, repair, repair. And so it's going to last longer, just like our bodies. But with animals, like, it's really exciting when I start to see results with animals. Like my dog, personal story, my dog picked up some viral something because he was at the dog park, and it caused these growths to come on his mouth. And I asked my vet about them, and he said, ugh, it's like, it's highly contagious. Like, he can't be around other dogs. And, it takes about 3 months to run its course, and there's nothing you can do. He said, I can give you a prescription. He said, but quite frankly, the prescription really doesn't do anything. So it's kind of just like, you got to wait. And I said, all right, well, I know that Redox, like, helps the body be at its best, helps the body's innate immune response, be turned on. We know that that gene gets upregulated. And so I thought, well, what if, like, let's just see, it can't hurt him. So I had him drink the liquid, and then I rubbed the topical, like, directly on these things. I kid you not, I took pictures. Like, the next day, the thing was like in half. And then same thing, literally 7 days. And this stuff's gone out of his mouth. One's on the outside, and the ones on the inside took a little bit longer. It's like 10 days. And I texted my vet. I said, you're not gonna believe this. He said, yeah, I don't believe it. And I was like, yeah, but I got proof. So it's that was really exciting, because my dog didn't know what I was giving him.
Right.
It just, like, the molecules did their thing.
Amazing. Hey, if you want to check out and learn more about this product, the first thing I suggest you do is you call Danielle's mom, Lynn, who is kind of, she's my mentor. She turned me on to Asea. So call Lynn. The number is right there on the screen, there and there. It's somewhere there on the screen, 443-254-6024, or the website. Go there as well. But the first thing you need to do is call Lynn, and please don't order it on Amazon. Don't order it through a third party. Before you do anything, text or call Lynn, and she can't wait to speak to you or to communicate with you over text, and she's so excited about this, and who wouldn't be? So that's the first thing you need to do. Call Lynn, text Lynn, and then the website if you want to dig a little bit further. I know what I want to talk about. The gel. Now, I put some under my eyes. I've got, I work long hours. I work overnight sometimes, and I've got the bags under my eyes. I tell you, you could smuggle contraband in those. So I put a little, the Renew 28, which is, how is this? Is this any different than what's in the blue bottle?
That's a good question. So it took them 5 years to make that. It's the same stuff. It's redox signaling. That's what's in it. But to get it concentrated like that, it's twice as concentrated as the liquid. And when they did that, it shot the pH up. So there's the pH buffer in there, and there's the silicate that helps it congeal. But those are, like, non-active things. But what's in there is redox signaling. And they call it Renew 28, actually, Richard, because your skin cells are supposed to turn over every 28 days. That's what they do when we're young. And what they found in the research was that when you put the Redox and the Renew 28 on your skin, just like you just did, it's going to turn your skin cells over 16% faster, which is amazing. So your skin will literally start to look younger because you're getting fresh young cells in the spot. And sometimes people have like their skin kind of has to come off. So sometimes, like, it may feel like a little bit dry or something, or get a little, like, red and flaky. And that's because, like, old cells are dying and coming off. It's an interesting thing to see. Some people experience it, some people don't. But it helps with wrinkle depth. It's amazing. And I'll tell you what's pretty cool about it. Using it for your skin like you are, that's what they did all the research on. Like, that's what we, know. But when we got our hands on it, we started to get, like, playful. We were experimenting with it. And we realized that if you've got discomfort in your body, you can rub it directly there. It's kind of like setting the alert call exactly where you want the body to come and do its thing. So I rolled my ankle the other day. I walked off the step, and I went into a hole, and it went further than it was supposed to go. So immediately, right, I was in a lot of discomfort and, it was starting to swell up. And so I just took the gel, and throughout the day, I was just rubbing it. I mean, I probably went through a tube of the gel in like 48 hours. Because I know if I can get repair in there quickly, like it's going to just speed up whatever process to get me back to 100%. And my discomfort was gone. I did it right before Christmas, and went out to see my parents. I was hiking. I was like totally fine. So it's pretty remarkable. I call that like the miracle gel, because there's probably 100 ways I have used that stuff, and I have it everywhere.
Right, right. Well, my lovely bride, the mighty Aphrodite, she carries it in her purse, and she goes to the gym. She's got it there. I've got two 16-year-old boys. One of them has some knee issues from playing a lot of tennis, so he carries it with him to school for after gym, during gym. He'll rub it on his knees if he has any problem. So it's a real workhorse around this house, I got to tell you. Me for the bags under my eyes, and for scrapes and cuts and abrasions and sunburn, and just slather it on there. Don't be shy.
Yeah. Anywhere you need repair, the one place that can't go is on your eyeball, because the silicate could like scratch your cornea.
Right.
But you can put the liquid in a dropper or in a spray, and you can spritz it in your eyes. And it's refreshing. Like I always have this mister. I don't know. Let me see if I've got it. Yeah, I have this nano mister, and I don't have anything in it right now, but it like mists out this really fine mist. And so I take this on the airplane, and I'll breathe it in, and I'll put it on my eyes, because my eyes always get dry for some reason when I fly.
High altitude, do that. Yes, that's a great idea.
Yeah. And I got everything in my drawer over here. I also have this little guy, which it nebulizes it. And so I'll just every so often, I'll also just do that, just because I know like the closer I can get redox to any area of concern, the better. And I live in the forest, and a lot of people like burn, they burn their yard waste. So sometimes like it's smoky outside and I get a little agitated. I come inside, I grab that thing, and I'm like, thank you. It just helps my system reset.
There you go. Asea Redox molecules, the signaling molecule supplement, and it's you put it on the inside, you put it on the outside. You can spray it in your eyes. It's great for your animals, your plants. To find out more, text or call Lynn at the number on the screen, and visit the website right there as well. Danielle, a great pleasure as always. Thank you so much. Good to see you again.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. And I'll say, guys, my mom is amazing. Certainly reach out to her. She just wants to make sure you're educated. Whatever needs your family has, she can make really good recommendations, and she can also help you get the best deal, because there's ways that you can get it at wholesale, which is always really nice to save some money, especially these days. So I look forward to you all meeting her, and I look forward to hearing stories from all of you listening as to what this brings you.
Thank you, Danielle. Bye for now.
A new Richard Syrett's Strange Planet drops every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Subscribe at strangeplanetpodcast.com.